Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. Big day in the tennis world. Obviously, the big story is 1 versus 2, Alcaraz and Sinner, the match that everyone thought we would get. That is happening tomorrow, very soon. But to me, an even bigger, more important story to me, not a bigger story to the world perhaps, but a more important story to me is what's going to happen to Novak Djokovic. A lot of retirement speculation after he lost to a unique Yannick Sinner yesterday. We go to number 1, put it on the screen. Djokovic asked, why do you have a special goodbye to the crowd? Are you going to leave? It was just a great sense of gratitude for the kind of support that I received tonight. Kind of a Djokovic voice, but I'll spare you. It was incredible, he said. I don't think I've ever received this much support in this stadium in my career in the big matches against the best players in the world. So for that, I'm very honored to experience, obviously. I mean, this could have been the last match I ever played here, so I don't know. That's why I was a bit more emotional in the end. So you've heard that out of context. It's not a stretch. It sounds like Djoker might not be back at the French Open. But if you just see that one part alone, it looks like he's saying there's a pretty good chance it's his last one. If you take it in with the whole quote from the press conference here, it doesn't sound quite as bad, you know. You just see the quote, this could have been the last match ever. The actual quote is, I mean, this could have been. To me, that makes it a little more, just in case, at my age, I could have an injury. I could have 2 injuries between now and next year's French Open. So just in case, I got to realize that this could have been the last one and have a nice goodbye. The crowd was really, as my Djokovic theorem was many years ago, I said the crowd is going to ruin Djokovic when he went through his slump in like 2016, 2017. He wasn't winning. End of 2016, obviously he won the French Open in 2016. But after that, and going into 2017 and even early parts of 2018, Djokovic was not winning. And I said maybe this crowd not appreciating his greatness and what he's doing. All these wins against Federer at Wimbledon he's had lately and stuff like that. Maybe the crowd is going to get to him and it's going to ruin things for him mentally. And I was dead wrong. I said, I admitted that. I was dead wrong. Djokovic turned that around and used the crowds against him all the time to motivate him to break all of the records. But one thing I remember, another part of that Djokovic theorem from 2017 was I said one day the crowd's going to regret it. They're going to regret that they were against Djokovic, and they're going to realize that he's going to be gone soon, and you're going to hear some crowd appreciation. We heard that at the French Open. We continue with the Djokovic quote. If this is a farewell match at Roland Garros for me in my career, it was a wonderful one in terms of the atmosphere and what I got from the crowd. This reminds me of Roger Federer's last French Open. It was just a way to get some match play in for one last try at winning Wimbledon. I think Djoker, obviously, Federer pulled out of that one too to keep his body safe. This could be a blessing in disguise for Djokovic because you could argue that if he goes all the way to 5 sets and somehow beats Sinner in a 5-hour match, then he has to go give it all he has for a shot at another, a 25th major in the final against Alcaraz. Could see him getting injured again like he was last year, and he still made the Wimbledon final last year after an injury 3 weeks before the tournament at the French Open. So I remember Federer's last run, he got some wins, and then he pulled out and said, I can't do any more matches. I tweaked something. Did he really tweak something? I don't recall. I just know that they were being extra careful to keep him ready for Wimbledon. Anyway, so I think this could work out for Djokovic because he went up against Sinner. It was a good, respectable loss. I mean, it was straight sets, but it was a pretty long straight sets match. Djokovic knows he had chances, and he knows that, 1, it's clay. 2, it was very slow conditions. It was humid and cool. Low temperatures, higher humidity, not crazy humidity, but close to 60% humidity with like 60-something degrees Fahrenheit during the match. That's very slow conditions. Up against Sinner, it was going to be very tough. So Djoker will know at Wimbledon, it's going to be a lot better if he faces Sinner again in a semifinal or a final. Anyway, so there is that. And then I go to this, number 2. This is from Andy Roddick. A friend of mine sent this to me, and I totally agree. Andy Roddick said, quote, I'm going to say this right now. Novak can win Wimbledon. I'm going to tell you, nothing he does at 38 gets easier when he steps on a clay court. But everything he does well at 38 gets even better when he steps onto a grass court. Totally true. I agree with Andy Roddick. I would suspect that he walks into Wimbledon saying, this is my best shot to win a major, and I fully believe that, said Andy Roddick. I totally agree. We go to the love triangle factor. There is this too. Even though Alcaraz always gets Djokovic at Wimbledon, this is pretty interesting. This is from Deuce Love, their account on Instagram. Since Sinner won his first ATP 1000 in 2023 Toronto, we've seen 15 matches between the new big three of Sinner, Alcaraz, and Djokovic. And an interesting triangle has emerged, which we had something similar in the early days. This is why a lot of Fed fans like myself in the early days kind of liked Djokovic extra. Fed would beat Djokovic. Djokovic would beat Nadal. Nadal would beat Fed. So I thought, hey, this Djokovic guy, he's great. He's going to take out Nadal all the time. And then then Fed can just beat the Joker, and Fed will win all the trophies. So we don't have to worry about Nadal taking away the glory from Federer after that 2008 Wimbledon. Fed fans were scared of stuff like that happening again with Rafa. So we see something similar now. Alcaraz is 4-1 versus Sinner. Sinner is 4-1 against Djokovic. Djokovic 4-1 versus Alcaraz. Of course, Sinner is now 5-1, but before yesterday's match, that was the factor. So we carry that into the next major. All very interesting. And don't forget, Djoker, 16 years older, I think, than Alcaraz. Alcaraz is a year behind Sinner, I believe. So that would put Djoker 15 years against Sinner, 16 years against Alcaraz. There's never been a big three like this one before. So this is a special time to be watching tennis. We go, since it is Beer Hall Freitag, and we have a nice Deutsche Bier, eines frischem deutschen Bieren, Bitburger, my favorite, I think. Since this is Beer Hall Freitag, although we have to be quick here today, it's a travel day for me, so we won't do the music like normal, and we won't read as many comments as I like to, but we have comments, and I will be drinking beer, so it is Beer Hall Freitag. Samstag, excuse me. Heute ist Samstag. Will Joker beat, this is from JT, Justin Timberlake maybe, will Joker beat the top three to win the French Open at 38? I guess we'll never know. Still, a great run at this age, yes. If Joker could have got past that 4.5 hour mark, anything could have happened. If he could have converted one of those 3 set points in the third set, I think there was a chance Joker could have done it. But I'll say pretty sure he would have lost to Alcaraz in the final. He would have had to go to war and take it 5 hours. No way he gets past a frisch Alcaraz, a frosh in Alcaraz, ready to spring up and smack whoever is in the final. But it's not Joker in the final. Of course, it is Jannik Sinner, and that is the topic of today's show. We'll look a little bit more of the stuff from the semifinals too, of course. But this is the big story. This is what we're all here for. Who's going to win tomorrow? It's a tough one. I've had to think about it a lot, but I think I'm ready to make a pick. Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz will face off in a Grand Slam final for the first time ever. First time ever. And here's the problem. Sinner, 3-0 in Grand Slam finals. Alcaraz, 4-0. They've never lost in a Grand Slam final, and now they face each other. It doesn't get better than this, folks. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I am your host, Matt Bradshaw, but we go to Andre Agassi, who once cursed Novak Djokovic when he was coaching him, and Djokovic didn't win anything. But he had a good point about Sinner. Take a listen.
You have to question if you can argue Sinner maybe the best defensive. I mean, I know Alcaraz gets to a lot of balls, but Sinner gets there and then unsprings on it, right? I mean, you can get Alcaraz sort of chopping and weaving left and right, forward and back. I think it's no comparison. But I was really shocked firsthand to just watch how much court he covers. He makes himself seem small when he's in this crouch position, and then he springs open and can fire from deep in the corner. It's pretty remarkable.
He had those opportunities.
Yeah, forward to back, running up to receive a drop shot. Sinner is not as fast as Alcaraz. That is for sure. But going side to side, they're closer. Everyone moves better side to side. It's easier than sprinting forwards or backwards. Side to side, lateral movement's easier for everybody. So I think the Sinner wingspan and the ability to slide into shots, I mean, Alcaraz can do it too, but that puts them pretty close side to side. Maybe we'll give a very slight edge to Alcaraz. But Agassi's point is a good one there. And I'm going to go to Jim Courier on another point. It's actually about Djokovic, so maybe we'll save that for a second. But we'll move into Djokovic and Sinner, the match, in a second. But I just wanted to play that first. That is a big factor that's made it kind of hard for me to pick who's going to win this thing. Sinner, when he slides into a shot, he completely uncoils on it. He unsprings, I think Agassi said. And he's definitely putting more heat. He's kind of like Novak Djokovic 2.0, something I said a long time ago when I first started calling Sinner the golden child and saying he's going to start winning everything. But I've also heard Patrick Mouratoglou say the same thing. Bigger serve than Djokovic. Spot spot serving's almost just as good too. I mean, Sinner was very accurate with his serve, even though he missed a lot of first serves. I have a graph to show you of the spots he was hitting. It's that valuable parts on the outside edges of the service box that Federer so famously hit all the time. Now, Djoker in the last 5-6 years has learned how to do that. His improved his accuracy on the first serve to do that more. And Sinner is doing it about just as good as those guys, which is a scary thing because Sinner really pounds that first serve. But the fact that Djokovic has always been respected for hitting, very clean, very deep ball, beautiful timing. But you could argue Sinner times it better. He takes it earlier on average than Djokovic for sure. He can definitely do that, and he's hitting it harder. And then one thing people have always admired about Djokovic, and one of the things that made him win all set the 24 Grand Slam record over the big three, coming out on top. One of those things was that Djoker is never caught off balance and can slide into a shot, can slide into a split, and still hit a solid backhand or forehand that goes deep into the court on the dead run, sliding into it. He can keep it deep, and you can't finish him there, and it gives him time to get back into a point. Sinner, on the other hand, and we saw Djokovic doing it to Sinner to stay alive, even as hard as Sinner was hitting it. A lot of times he'd still finish Djokovic, but a lot of times Djoker would get back into it. Sinner does it even better because when he slides into the shot, as Agassi said, he uncoils, he uncorks it, and not only does he hit it deep like the Djoker has done for so many years now, he hits it with a lot of action, a lot of rotation, a lot of miles per hour, you name it. The thing is incredible. Let's talk a little bit more about the Djoker Sinner match before we look at Alcaraz Sinner stuff. First, take a listen to Jim Courier here. Let me cue it up for you. This is Jim Courier saying this is what to watch out for if Novak Djokovic is going to be retiring by the end of this year.
I will say this too. Just my big takeaway from this match is if I see his emotional state like this at Wimbledon and at the U.S. Open, when he's playing a match of this magnitude against a player of this magnitude, and he's not snarling, if he's smiling, he's on his way out. I mean, look, time's undefeated, but that was not representative of the emotional state when he's played his best tennis. He's always looking for edges and angles and things to get him motivated. He was smiling in combat. That's Carlos Alcaraz's MO. That's never been Novak's. It's been
Great point. I totally agree with Jim Courier. I think there's a great chance that Novak wants to come play on a fast hard court again at the Australian Open after all the winning he's done there. I think there's a great chance he does the Australian Open again next year. I think there's a pretty solid chance he's going to play Wimbledon. Obviously, he's going to play this year, but I think he's going to come back and play Wimbledon again next year. But he might know there's a chance he's not going to play at the French Open. So maybe that's why we saw a lot of points yesterday where Djoker was smiling afterwards and just trying to take it in. The crowd's cheering for him. He's playing the number one player in the world at his age after a terrible year by his own admission. Obviously, he doesn't care about those results so much. It was all about, getting ready for the majors, but he sure didn't expect to lose first round as many times as he did. So maybe he's just kind of smiling like, this is amazing. I'm out here doing this, playing against number one in the world. I'm winning crazy points against him. Maybe it was more that, maybe he thinks it's ironic that he found a way to get to this position at his worst major, or maybe it's just the fact that he knows he's not coming back. Very likely he's not coming back. I don't think he's made up his mind yet, but I think he knows if he does play tournaments next year, French Open might be one that's he skips, not a priority for him. Let's look at what Sinner was able to do because this factors in for the match against Carlitos tomorrow. First off, Djokovic lost this match 6-4, 7-5, 7-6, the very rare 4-5-6 in order. 51% first serve percentage is pretty low, so I'm sure Djoker would be disappointed with not breaking more. He just got the one break of serve out of 6 opportunities. Djoker, he did everything he could to try to win this match. It's really a great effort. It was a fun match to watch. 71% first serve, pretty good from Djoker, pretty amazing. Winning almost 70% against probably the best returner on the tour now in Sinner. 79% first serve, 1 for Sinner. Second serve, not that bad considering how well Sinner can play. 58% win on second serve for the Djoker, 63 though. Everything just a little better from Jannik Sinner. 3 breaks out of 9, 44 winners on 36 unforced errors. It's pretty good when you compare it especially to the 35 on 53 unforced errors. Djoker, he was going for it. Like I said earlier, slow conditions, windy conditions, especially in the beginning of the match. You saw that with Sabalenka. Sabalenka hits a more flat ball, and Coco Gauff, spinnier ball, able to deal with the wind, better. It's easier to deal with the wind when you have those balls. Anyway, so points won, 9 shots or more. That's an interesting stat to look at because Sinner dominated that 21-11. Net points won, we don't have that here, but Djoker was very successful at net. I think they both had good numbers at the net, but Djoker definitely a little better. I mean, he had to do everything he could possibly think of to try to win this match, and I think if he could have got one of those 3-set points in the third, could have been a different outcome. It really could have. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened to Sinner as he got worked longer. Maybe he would have took his level up a notch and blown Djoker out in the 4th set. Sure, that could have happened. But if Djoker could have gave him another close, like in the 2nd set, close 2nd set, close 3rd set, if he could have won that 3rd or that 2nd and got into a 4th, kept it close, maybe by the end, little Djoker magic, go to a 5th, anything could have happened. But that's not what happened. This is what happened. Djokovic average rally hit point throughout the tournament, right on top of the baseline, just behind the baseline, like 1 foot, 1.5 feet. Playing against Sinner, here's the Sinner effect. Djoker does not like to get pushed off the baseline. It's hard to do. Sinner had him pushed back almost 6 feet behind the baseline. So Djoker went from about 2 feet to about 6 feet on average from the rest of the tournament. Tripled his distance behind the baseline from the Sinner power pushing him back. I also saw something Andy Roddick was saying that no one can beat Djoker up the middle, and this was the first time, even Alcaraz doesn't do it. He said this is the first time he saw someone just go so much power up the middle that Djoker was like, let's hit some cross-court angles. I got to get out of this. I can't handle this power coming right at me. So Sinner able to hit through the Djoker. Andy Roddick says he's never seen that happen before. Let's go to a comment. Let's go to a comment before we go into some more stuff from the match. And this is the reason why we're going to this is a factor from the match, I think. Another huge tactic Sinner gained, if you can call it a tactic. I call it stealing employees or intellectual property. Another huge tactic Sinner gained is working with Nole's trainer and physio, Panici and Barrio. Panici and Barrio. These two would know all the tricks Nole used to be the strongest. Huge boon for Sinner, both physically and mentally. Yeah, I think that was just a good sign. When I saw Sinner was snapping those guys up, I thought, hey, this is just more reason to bet on the future of Jannik Sinner. But yeah, that might have been a factor. I'll throw this picture up there because I like it. Dream big, Jannik Sinner. He got to do it. I don't know if this was Djokovic's dream to have the carrot kid with the carrot afro little kid grow up and beat you in straight sets in a major semifinal. Maybe that was not the Djoker dream, but Sinner, he definitely he accomplished the dream. Anyways, that's enough on that. Let's move on to the big show. Sinner versus Alcaraz. My prediction to come shortly. Overall, 4-7. Of course, Alcaraz has won 4 in a row now, I believe. On clay, Alcaraz leads. I mean, this doesn't look good for Sinner, but I kind of throw some of this out. A year ago, well, Sinner's clearly better on clay this year than he was last year. The meeting in Rome, yeah, it's a little bit of a factor for sure. And, 7-6 was a good set, but Sinner's coming off the break, hasn't played a lot of matches, hasn't played any matches for months. And, you can't, no matter if Sinner could have been practicing, he could have been in the gym. It's not the same as playing 5 matches in a row at a Masters 1000 tournament against, some of the best players in the world. And on top of that, Sinner had a blister on his foot in that match, which maybe that was what was so aggravating, had him blown off the court 6-1 in the second set. So that is the head-to-head. I kind of throw that out. Okay, yeah, I thought I had more stuff. This must be out of order. More stuff from the Djoker match, but just take a look at this. This is huge, and this is something I saw this graphic with Alcaraz when he was struggling earlier in the season, losing unexpected matches no one thought he would lose. And we saw how the serve placement was getting worse. It wasn't as good as normal. And normal for Alcaraz is not as good as this. Look at Sinner's numbers. These are right there with Fed and Djoker.
79% in the ad, 80% in the deuce court. He is hitting this outer rim of the service boxes, which makes a huge difference. I thought Coco Gauff would lose for sure because see where the number 21 is? You see the number 21, excuse me, I lost my graphics. Freaking MacBook thought I was talking to it for some reason. Anyways, you see the 21% and the 20, like actually where the number 2-1 is on the left and number 2-0 on the deuce side. That's like where Coco Gauff was rolling in her second serves. In the middle, short, Sabalenka was blasting those, and that was certainly helping her have a chance to stay in the match. And ultimately, she didn't handle the conditions well with the wind, and she lost, of course. But moments where she was getting back into the match, it was because, you know, she would play a horrible service game, and then Coco Gauff would roll in those second serves, and she would have a chance to get right back into the match anytime. So yeah, this is very valuable when you see that Sinner is able to hit his first serve very hard and hit out on the outer perimeters of the service boxes. So that's one edge that we will give Sinner over Alcaraz. But of course, on clay, that edge is not quite as valuable as it would be on the other courts. So, you know, clay slows it down a little. So, yeah, that is a huge factor, I think. But one reason why we could lean towards predicting Alcaraz to win this match. Another thing, we just showed you how he's serving. Take a look at this. Wild but true from TSH Tennis. Jannik Sinner hit 2 double faults on his way to the Roland Garros finals. Nobody has ever done that. I don't know. Has no one really ever done that? I mean, yeah, sounds believable. I didn't fact check this, but I'll say, okay, it's believable. I do agree that he only had 2 double faults. He only had like 1 against Djoker, and he only had 1 going in, the first 5 rounds. That's amazing. Going into the semifinals, he's hit 1 double fault, and he hits 1 double fault against the greatest of all time on his way to the final. Here's another thing. I like this. Sinner, returning so well. He's staying back, making sure he has time. He knows he has enough power to where it's worth it. We've seen Rafa do it for years. Stays back, hits a huge ball, tons of spin. And then later in the match, can't remember which set, but it must be second or third set, of course, not in the first. He started stepping in on the Djoker second serve, and that really created some problems. You know, he was already doing a good job on the return, and winning points, lots of points, obviously, because he won the match in straight sets. But then he felt good. His timing was there. He decided, let's move in. Let's put even more pressure on the Djoker. And the last thing Djoker needed towards the end of that match was making it even harder on him. So maybe we'll see that with Alcaraz. Maybe Sinner. It'll be interesting to see the Sinner start off back and just make sure he's getting a good ball, getting a lot of, a high percentage of returns are going back. He knows he's got the power to where he'll have plenty of time to get back up to the baseline. When is he going to decide it's time to step in and really put the pressure on Alcaraz? Now let's look at some Alcaraz numbers. We looked at the incredible speed and spin, which is right there with some of Rafa Nadal's best numbers for Sinner. Now look at Carlos Alcaraz. 85 miles per hour average on the forehand is huge. Fast. This was against Musetti, who's rumored to eat spaghetti sometimes. Musetti in the semifinals. Fastest forehand he hit was 107. His average spin right there in Rafa Nadal land, 3,504 RPM. I think this could be a really good match tomorrow. And here's another one to blow you away. We already know that he's right behind Rafa in getting to 100 wins on clay. This is 70 Grand Slam match wins. How many matches did it take? 3 on the all-time list. The top 6 here for Alcaraz, 82. Only Johnny Mack and Bjorn Borg. It's pretty cool that those guys are tied on top of the list. Only Borg and McEnroe have won 70 matches in less time than Alcaraz, and they only did it by 1 match. 70 of their first 81. Alcaraz wins 70 of his first 82 Grand Slam matches in his career, tied with Ken Rosewall, who is multiple semifinalists, age 38 and beyond. We saw that in the last video, since Djokovic has now done that, age 38 semifinalist here. Jimmy Connors also on that list. He did it in 83 matches, and there's Rafa tied with Jimmy Connors. No mention of Djokovic or Federer on this list. Now, obviously, Rafa Nadal had a lot more success than those guys who are ahead of him on this list. So, it doesn't mean that Alcaraz is going to break all the big three records, but it's a pretty good sign. To me, though, that previous stat, how big he's hitting his forehand with all the rotation, that's going to help him win the match tomorrow more than this one. It is Bierhoff Zamstag, so let's go to a comment. Matt, this is from SH141. Matt, I'm surprised you're not a bigger Carlos rather than Sinner fan, considering you were a Roger man. No one brings more variety and excitement to the sport than Alcaraz, in my opinion, even though I like Sinner too. Yeah, it's weird. Maybe because I always liked Alcaraz. I'll never forget. Somebody, I can't remember who, but somebody sent me a message on Instagram saying, you got to check out this kid. He just played in the it was either qualies or like the first round of Barcelona. And he said, this 15-year-old just beat like some guy that's like 100 in the world or 80 in the world. Somebody ranked somewhere in that neighborhood, 120, 80 in the world, something like that. Saying, hey, check out, and Alcaraz was 15, maybe even 14. Very young, 14 or 15. He's saying, hey, this is a guy. And back then they put Garcia on the bench. It was Carlos Alcaraz. Maybe they had another name in there too. He had like 4 names in the beginning. Then eventually they shortened it down to Carlos Alcaraz because that's easier to market to the tennis fans. But it originally said like something like Carlos Alcaraz Ruiz Garcia, something like that back then. He's like, hey, you better watch out for this kid. So, yeah, I've liked Alcaraz ever since then. I like the idea of Alcaraz as kind of a mix of Roger, Rafa, Djokovic, like a big three mix. I love Carlos, but I guess I chose Sinner to be the one that wins the most early on. So I kind of sticking with my guy since he was my pick. And, he sure looks like he is more mentally focused than Carlos, and I'm big on mental. Yeah, I like Roger all these years. I loved Roger the most. I prefer watching Roger's game, but who came out on top? It was Djoker, and to me, even though people say Rafa is more of a mental giant than Djoker, I don't know. It's a hard one because, Rafa's mentality, playing each point like it's the last, is a really big factor in what he did, but to me, the Djoker was willing to go to hell and back, Rafa too, but Djoker was willing to change his diet, change his whole life, just do everything, structure his whole life around getting the most out of his tennis. And to me, Sinner's more on that side. And then Sinner's also kind of like Borg. He's like the Iceman, doesn't show emotion as much, super focused. It just seems like he's unflappable, unshakable. So I think that's a factor, and that's why I kind of lean towards Sinner. Let's read another one. Why are you assuming TFO thinks he should have been disqualified? Kicking a ball into an official should result in a warning, even if it clearly was an accident and resulted in no injury. It is absolutely comical that there was absolutely no response. Why are you assuming the worst of TFO? This is from Elias Higginham. 8901. Well, he did get a warning. That's my issue. He got the warning, and he said it's comical, nothing happened. Well, nothing didn't happen. There was a warning. So him saying it's comical, nothing happened, knowing that there was a warning, means that he wanted more to happen. What did he want more? I can only assume more than a warning is a point penalty, game penalty, or default disqualification. So that's my issue with TFO. I don't think I'm assuming too much. He knew about the warning, and he said nothing happened. So I don't think I'm assuming a lot. I think he's saying something beyond a warning should have happened. There's only 3 choices that I can think of that are things beyond a warning. One more from Mariella V5M. So an almost 40-year-old guy, which I am as well, Rafa, me, Djoker, Murray, we all have that in common, stands more chance to last over 4.5 hours than a 23-year-old. Interesting. Well, look, I'm not the only one to say it. Marion Bartoli said it too. 4.5 hours is the death bar for Sinner. And that leads me to prediction time. Hit the music because we got to get out of here. I don't know if you can tell, but I looked over at the time when you could still see me talking. I was in Georgia at that time. Now I'm in New Jersey. And I noticed like I might miss my flight. So yeah, I had to book it out of there. We're on a different microphone. There's a fan in the background if you can hear it. Sorry about that. Anyways, here's the prediction. And it's basically the same. I strongly believe in the chicken legs of the Onyx Center. You know, they're almost like Berrettini's legs, right? A little beefier than Berrettini's legs. I still think it's a weakness, and especially on clay, which can be so physical. And, you know, with Djoker, it's like it's mental, you know. He can be exhausted, and he's going to dig deep and find a way. By the way, there was a comment I wanted to put on Beer Hall's hashtag. Someone was reminding me in a comment that Miami final was delayed several hours late into the evening, super humid in the evening anyways in Miami, and it had been raining all day, so it was kind of like that U.S. Open against Millman, where Federer was like dying and said he couldn't breathe in the locker room afterwards because the humidity was so high and the heat was trapped in the U.S. Open stadium. They hadn't finished the roof yet, or they'd recently finished it, I can't remember. They hadn't put ventilation in yet or something, so it really turned it into like a oven with high humidity. Anyways, that kind of weather, it can really get to center. And you know, we saw Djoker dealing with that kind of weather against Minchik, and yeah, he didn't outlast the young guy there, but man, when he looked like he had nothing left, he still found a little bit more to give in that match, even though he lost. I could totally see him finding a way to make it happen in the French against Sinner. And Alcaraz, I think, is going to be able to do that. My pick is Alcaraz in 5, but I think Sinner can win it in 3. I really think Sinner can go out there, especially with some of the play we've seen, some of the mental lapses we've seen from Alcaraz over the course of this French Open. I think we could see Sinner exploit that and blow Alcaraz off the court, or, you know, blow him off the court. It's not going to be like some of the other scores we've seen from Sinner. It's not going to be 6-0, 6-1, something like that. But I think he could get through Alcaraz in 3 or 4 sets. It is certainly possible. But if this match goes to 5 sets, which I think it will, 1 versus 2, it's the beginning of something really special. You know, they haven't been in the final yet. They've been dominating, but now it's going to be them meeting in the final a lot. I think Djoker maybe could end up in the Wimbledon final. Wouldn't surprise me. After that, you know, you see Alcaraz and Sinner probably in every final. So my official pick, I think we go 5 and Alcaraz wins. I think Alcaraz is the guy who can put the Marion Bartoli test, the Marion Bartoli theory to test, right? The 4 hours, 30-minute death bar. Once Sinner hits the bar, there's no coming back. He won't be able to do it. I think Alcaraz gets him in 5 sets. With my slight caveat there, Sinner possibly could blow the guy out in 3 sets. I think he could do it. Maybe he could do it in 4 sets, but that 4-hour mark, Sinner's got to get it done in 4 hours or less. Once he goes over 4 hours, things start getting dicey. Anyways, we finish up with one last comment in the spirit of Beer Hall's Amstag, even though I don't have a beer with me now, but I started this video with a beer in my hand back in Georgia. This is from the Orchid Panda 2253. Where have you been, Matt? It's not slam season until I get me some coffee break tennis predictions. Well, I hope you enjoyed the prediction I just did. Good to see you back. Coco Vandeweghe is an idiot. She's not new. It's not because it's live. She's just not bright. Enough with the negatives. I love your smoothie. Love the chapter dividers. How can you go against the guy who's won 40% of the sets either with a bagel or breadsticks? Sinner versus Alcaraz, final or bust. Hee hee. Hell yeah. I added hell yeah. Editorialized a little bit. Yeah. Can someone comment below? She's not new. So where was Coco Vandeweghe broadcasting before? I guess whatever she was on was something I wasn't watching. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt and saying like, oh yeah, she's new at this. That's all. Maybe Orchid Panda is right. But we'll have to continue watching Coco Vandeweghe's commentary to figure it out. We'll be back tomorrow night. I'll do an audio-only podcast since I'm out of town. I'm going to be training some tennis, actually. Going to be hitting on the green clay with my good buddy, Bhaskar. He goes to the Cincinnati Masters Clinic with me and Pete, and he's a big fan of coffee break tennis. Anyway, so we're going to be training out here in Jersey, doing a lot of tennis, and I'm really looking forward to that. We'll be back tomorrow night to talk about what could be the beginning of a great Grand Slam finals rivalry between the new big two. And don't forget Djoker, he's still making it a sort of a big three, just for a little while longer, I think, at least until the end of Wimbledon. See ya!